What if Earth had rings like Saturn? Imagine looking up at the sky every night, and instead of seeing just a bright moon and scattered stars, you saw massive glowing arcs stretching across the heavens. It would look like something out of a sci-fi movie. But let's explore what would actually happen if our planet really had rings. First, we need to think about what the rings would be made of. Saturn's rings are mostly tiny pieces of ice and dust, spread out in a thin but wide disk. If Earth somehow acquired rings, they'd probably look similar icy shards, space rocks, and dust, circling our world in a bright cosmic halo. From the ground, they wouldn't just be visible at night. On a clear day, the rings would blaze across the blue sky like giant glowing highways in space. People wouldn't just wonder about the weather, they'd ask, "Hey, are the rings extra shiny today?" The view would depend a lot on where you live. Near the equator, you'd probably see the rings stretching up from horizon to horizon, like a colossal rainbow frozen in place. But if you lived closer to the poles, the rings might look more like a thin line in the sky, or sometimes they'd even vanish from view entirely. Geography would determine how magical your skies looked. Imagine tourism ads. Visit Ecuador for the best ring views. But Earth having rings wouldn't just be beautiful, it would change life in subtle but important ways. For one thing, the rings would reflect sunlight back onto the planet. That could slightly cool the climate by blocking some heat during the day. At night, they would glow faintly, scattering moonlight and starlight across the sky. That means the nights would never be truly dark. Ancient stargazers would have written myths not just about constellations, but about the glowing river of light slicing through the heavens. Entire religions might have been built around the rings, worshipping them as celestial gates or cosmic ladders. Astronomy as we know it would be much harder. The rings would clutter the night sky, drowning out faint stars and galaxies. Telescopes would always have to peer through streaks of ice and dust, like trying to take pictures through a dirty window. Some scientific discoveries might have been delayed by centuries, simply because the sky was too distracting. Then again, maybe civilizations would have advanced faster, inspired by the giant cosmic billboard above their heads screaming, "The universe is bigger than you think." There's also the question of satellites. Our modern world depends on thousands of satellites orbiting Earth. But if giant rings of debris were already in place, satellite networks like GPS might be nearly impossible. Imagine every launch having to dodge through icy boulders just to reach orbit. Space travel would be more dangerous, and humanity's expansion into space might have been slowed down, or maybe we would have figured out solutions faster out of necessity. And tides, let's not forget those. The rings themselves wouldn't pull on the oceans much, since they'd be orbiting Earth like the Moon does. But their presence could create extra gravitational quirks, slightly altering tidal patterns in some regions. That might have reshaped coastlines over millions of years, changing where cities were built or even which civilizations flourished. But the most fascinating part is how normal this would all seem to us if Earth had always had rings. We wouldn't think of them as strange or alien. They would simply be part of the sky, as ordinary as clouds or sunsets. Poets would write about them. Kids would draw them in school. Every national flag might have rings drawn behind Earth, a symbol of unity and wonder. Instead of the blue marble, astronauts would look back at a planet crowned with shimmering arcs of light. Of course, there's a darker side. Rings don't last forever. Over millions of years, the particles would either fall into Earth or get pushed away into space. Eventually, our rings would fade, leaving the sky bare and ordinary. Future humans might look up at the empty heavens and feel a strange sense of loss, the same way we look at dry riverbeds today and imagine the water that once carved them. So, what's the conclusion? If Earth had rings like Saturn, life on our planet would be visually spectacular, scientifically complicated, and culturally transformed. We wouldn't just live on Earth, we'd live on Earth, the planet with a crown. And every night, instead of saying goodnight to the moon, we'd fall asleep under shimmering cosmic arches that reminded us that our world is never just ordinary.